You like girls? You like dogs? Well, I'm gonna be designing cute girls based off dogs today. Specifically, the Maltese, the Doberman, and then the Labradoodle. You can call me Beatrice. Stay tuned if you like long-winded explanations onto the character design process and a lot of self-critiques. Let's go! Whoa, look at that majestic beast. Nature's mop. Now seriously, do you think it picks up dust as it walks, like some sort of organic Roomba? Genuinely, please tell me if you own one of these, because that's hilarious. When I saw this picture, the idea just jumped into my head. Sometimes you just see something and it inspires you to such like a great degree that you just know immediately what you're aiming for. I know what I want. She definitely needs that hair, but aside from that, I also wanted to try a Y2K fashion aesthetic, which is what I put in my mood board, but then I ended up swerving into Barbie girl real quick. Because Y2K is usually a very hot aesthetic and I straight up just can't draw hot things, I guess. Anyways, I'm one of those artists who usually has to do like 1,000 iterations of a design before settling on something. But after I saw this picture of this darling little mop dog, I had a very clear image of what I wanted. So why not just try to jump straight into the final design after a little bit of doodling? I mean, that's what other artists do after all. Sometimes, other artists just jump straight into the final design because they won't really be using this design repeatedly, right? So why can't I do the same? I would soon learn why. Okay, never mind, it's fine. So I only did a few rough doodles first to get the gist of the character. I tried out the color palette, tested some necklaces, and sketched out some ideas. I decided on 2 key facts alongside some outfit ideas. So her hair is the most distinct feature, of course, but she also has both pale skin and white hair. So that means that when you look at her and you're using a lineless art style, you might end up thinking, wow, she has a massive forehead. You know, because that's just what happens when you have 2 parts of a character that are basically the same value, which makes it very important to differentiate them. Luckily, this is a pretty easy solution. Just make her have black roots growing out slightly so that it differentiates her face from her hair. I also decided that I would give her this same blank, beady-eyed stare that the Maltese dogs gave the camera. I thought it was pretty funny. Usually, hot pink feminine girls like her have like only like 2 modes. Either cheery and happy, or they're just mean girls. So I thought that this would be a nice change of pace. Make her a bit more interesting. Although that might actually be in the opposite direction for some people. But hey, you can't please everyone. I feel like she's the sort to just gaze off into the void until you talk to her like some sort of NPC. Or maybe she's just really dead on the inside. After the doodling phase, I was ready to go. I made her petite like the actual dog, very short. And I also did a portrait because I love those. They're very much in my comfort zone, and I can also detail her makeup, which I don't really draw that often. Usually it's just eyeshadow, which I guess is the same here, but I also gave her some nice lip gloss, which I really like. I ended up giving her some very Barbie-esque colors, which are very bright and childlike. She also has a pretty white color scheme now. Something appealing to children, I assume. Looking back, I would have dialed back on the purple though, to make the purple really pop more. I made fur and fluff into a motif to reference an actual Maltese. It makes her look softer and more fabulous. I also attempted at a secondary floral motif on the shoes, but the small little tulips clash too much. So I would only keep the flowers to like the singular hair accessory. Note to self, never do that stuff again. I ended up giving her 2 outfits, which have vastly different vibes. The first would be a casual preppy outfit, great for a character like this. It makes her look very happy and feminine and cheery and excitable. And her face paints a completely different picture, which I actually really like. Sometimes it's good to give characters 2 contrasting traits. It just makes them more fun. You know, like the classic masculine guy with kitten or small child or whatever. Painting was rather time-consuming because I didn't take note of the fact that I would just copy and paste the character at first. It's always good to separate layers and name them properly when doing designs with the same base. I think my other design should be way faster after doing that. But the second outfit really doesn't match with the first at all. It has way more pop-punk rocker vibes. You know, like Barbie, the princess, and the pop star. But like if the pop star had a bit of an edgy emo phase. It's not very cohesive with the first outfit, although I think it's just because of the hair and collar. Maybe it could work as an alter ego design. Prep by day, pop punk by night. I mean, if you're gonna stumble into mistakes like these, might as well just roll with it, am I right? Make it a thing. One thing I like doing with my designs is making sure that each outfit looks distinctly personal to that character. I don't really like having outfits that can be boiled down to one word. Most of the characters I design belong to a very specific universe where people tend to dress in traditionally inspired clothing, so getting a unique aesthetic for each character comes pretty easily to me then. But with a character like the Maltese girl, who has very modern TikTok-y fashion, I have to make sure that she has some sort of consistency between her outfits that makes her outfits look distinctly Maltese girl. We can do this by having her outfits share certain traits and motifs. So the pink fluff, the tight-fitting chokers with rhinestones, the sweetheart neckline. Having consistency between outfits really helps build some sort of fashion sense into your character. So if that's what you're aiming for, I really suggest doing that. Although some characters will dress completely different every time you see them. Really depends on the situation and the character, of course. Now for my final overview. When it comes to characters, I really prefer having them having a fixed purpose and setting, which makes me feel more secure about their design. When they don't fulfill a goal, or when they don't have a goal to fulfill, I usually end up feeling bleh or just bad about them. Like they're missing something. But how do I know what they're missing if I don't know what to aim for in the first place? Personality-wise, she didn't really spark that much as she did for her physical design. I felt insecure about how much I could brainstorm for her, which is very little. Okay, she seems like the sort who just lives off her parents' money and parties hard like real dogs do. Either that or she just has no job and a mysterious amount of money. I mean, we could have a secret pop star Hannah Montana thing going on, but I don't really know what to do with that. But then I realized that she doesn't really need to be a story character when she could do something very, very different. I think that she could make a pretty good fashion doll. You know, like Monster High or Barbie. I don't really go to toy stores that much. I think that children would like her design. Theoretically, if she was a doll, the most important thing is making sure that her outfits can be mixed and matched. And I think that most of the time, this would actually work out quite well. I mean, those two skirts are pretty good, and I think those leggings work well with both of them. Her shoes are quite nice also. I really like her fluffy pair the most. I think the second one is a bit boring. But we do run into some trouble with color choices. For example, her coat and pink top are the same color and texture, which will make them blend into an amorphous blob if you were to wear both at once. So what I do is I color swap it. I make the coat purple and the top pink. It's not as if you're gonna be wearing two tops at once anyway, so it's alright if they're the same color. So that's how I make the color choice optimal, in my opinion. With some tweaks, I think that she'd fit quite well with the rest of the toys on the toy store shelves. So I think that I'm pretty happy with the design. When I find a purpose for her, I feel way better about it. Now we'll move on to the Doberman. Look at that majestic beast. A really majestic beast this time, not a mop or something that could pick up dust for you, but instead a best friend who radiates badassery and intelligence, someone who you can show off to all your homies, and someone who will defend you from danger at all costs. I assume, I don't know. Looking at this picture, looking at Dobermans in general, you immediately decide to go for something serious, right? So that's what I wanted to do, of course. But I wanted to try something with a bit of an intellectual taste. The Doberman might be very athletic and dangerous, but it also does radiate some sort of intelligence from it. I think it's really the triangles in its silhouette, you know, shape language applied to real life. But after searching up Dark Academia outfit references, I found this picture of a rather stylish trench coat, and my brain immediately transported me to a different idea. What if detective? Oh yeah! So my brain was in full brain mode. Yes, I have a backstory for her now, a personality. This is so good. Let's go, guys. I jumped into concept art time. It's time to be serious, down to earth, realistic. With a character that would fit a real life show, you know, one for adults, one with I don't know what do adults watch. I don't watch TV. Oh, my dad watches arcade dramas. We are so off topic, sorry. Anyways, concept art. We settled on the color of blacks, browns, and some gold because I just can't resist gold apparently. I gave her broad shoulders and a slim waist to match the dog. Now there are two main key points I immediately decided on while doing the concept art. The first is that she needs a clear, readable silhouette, like the Doberman. It has a distinct body type with short fur. That means everything that the Doberman lady will wear will be form-fitting. Of course, not in the sexual. I just want her silhouette to be very clear because if she's wearing a lot of voluminous stuff, then she'll kind of just get lost. You know, she won't look like a Doberman at all. Not that my Maltese look much like a Maltese. It's more or less just trying to radiate the same vibes. And of course, with a form-fitting closet, I think that she could look quite elegant in it. The second point that I wanted was that her trench coat will have some sheen in it, like the Doberman's own fur. It also adds visual interest to an otherwise very down-to-earth design. So I did 3 concept art outfits because, you know, I'm not really into realistic, serious outfits. Most of my characters are actually magical girls, so this is really out of my comfort zone. Let's look at all the concept art I've done. Here's the first outfit. I chose cornrows for the Doberman's hair because the way the braids stick to her scalp make her silhouette more sleek, like I wanted. But this hairstyle has braids flying around, which goes against my idea. It's also very impractical, so it's a no from me. What I'm thinking is that the Doberman is a more active private detective. You know, the sort that has to scramble around for clues. Someone who needs to chase down suspects and get into those cool fights. It's been a while since I watched a private detective show, but I'm sure there's one where the protagonist is just running around all the time. Her sweater is okay, but maybe not practical enough for me, you know? Her brown pants and knee-high boots also unfortunately give off horse rider vibes, so that's a no from me. Now for her second outfit, the office shirt and card, which was supposed to be her private detecting license, really makes this whole design scream, particularly fashion high school teacher. I actually do like this outfit, it just doesn't suit her. What I really like from this design is the hair. It's supposed to be a low bun, you can't see it from this angle. It reflects the Doberman's shortened tail. Plus, the gelled down baby hairs add a nice touch too. While the outfit itself is a no from me due to practicality reasons, I can't resist plaid, so I'll be reusing that aspect later. I also really like the length of these boots. They're supposed to be Chelsea boots, simple, sleek, and shiny. So they're perfect for the final design. I'll be keeping those. For the third concept art outfit, I think it's the best overall fit. It's elegant and academic, but still practical. While it still uses a turtleneck like the first outfit, the color is better because it's more serious. So this turtleneck is not knitted like the first. It's made of stretchy fabric, which makes it look more action-ready than the yellow turtleneck. I imagine that this Doberman would have a real-life show, which is why I'm taking this into consideration. If you're having a more cartoony art style, then you wouldn't have to worry about this. But when it comes to more realistic art styles, you really do have to take into consideration the way that fabrics fall and the way they interact with the world. The gold buckled belt also adds some class to these combat pants, which I designed myself after just taking a look at some regular old combat pants. I needed to make those combat pants look less fighty and more, I just need pockets for clues. So I'm gonna take this into the final design too. After painting the outfits, I also painted quotes on top of them. The first one is too pompous looking with all its volume, so whoops, no. Now the second and third one look good though. The second one is just too long. The third one does look a bit too on the nose with the detectiveness, but I do like that belt and the way that it cinches at the waist. So we're gonna move on to the final design, although I will have to tweak both of them. For the final design, I had 2 expressions and a more interesting pose in an effort to show off some glimpse of personality in her. I also wanted to use those 2 expressions to showcase her hair from different angles. I also just needed more practice. I've never done cornrows before, but I guess I tried my best, even though it wasn't the most realistic. It was an interesting challenge and I'm sure I'll do better next time. For her face, I really like giving all of my characters unique faces. Actually, giving every character a unique face does come with a lot of challenges, but I'd say it's worth it. For the Doberman, I tried to give her weird shaped eyebrows to reflect the Doberman's weird shaped eyebrows. I can't go with the full circle eyebrows because that'd be weird for such a realistic character, but looking back, I changed the shape just slightly to emphasize the roundness of the first part more. So I decided to give her two outfits like the Maltese plus her coat. So the first outfit is my favorite. It's a combat body turtleneck plus combat pants plus Kelsey boots. So I think the turtleneck part really makes her look academic, while the bodysuit makes it look form-fitting. But it also does make sense, because you don't really need to worry about tucking it into your pants. It's just always there, and it's very secure. Plus, there's the part where it extends to her palms. I think that could give her more protection. I just think that adds more interest to her. Her pants let her engage in all those fight and chase scenes that I'm imagining, and the 4 pockets help her keep useful gadgets and clues close. I think her coat's sheen was done quite well. And the rust-colored fur helps separate her bodysuit from her coat, even though they're the same color. I liked her Chelsea boots a lot, so I kept them for all of her outfits. The third outfit is her research and casual outfit. I don't really like it, but it's a decent fit. I think her design suits a real-life TV show or movie due to its downstated realisticness. Overall, I think that while designs like these are not my thing, I am pretty sure I succeeded in my goal, and I'm quite happy with her. Backstory-wise, she's the one who sparked for me the most. I imagine that she's from a large, successful family with a lot of other siblings who are just as intelligent as her. But she's the odd one out because she's a private detective, while all of her siblings are just like working in much more normal and still noble fields like search and rescue, therapy, and athletics. You know, jobs that actual Dobermans do. I already have like a personality in mind for her. She's the very vigilant and cautious type. She might have a tragic backstory. She's passionate about justice and truth even when there's risk. She's loyal and idealistic, bordering on sentimentalism and or cheesiness. And of course, she has a massive brain. I was originally trying to make the Maltese more interesting by linking both of them together, but I really don't think that the Maltese would be a great culprit for a murder mystery. So I just dropped it. Now we'll be moving on to the Labradoodle. I've petted plenty of these in my time. They really are the perfect size for a good cuddle. To capture the friendly vibe, I decided to go and settle for a color scheme with a lot of green to match the browns of the Labradoodle. I made the Labradoodle a brunette with shaggy layered hair with a bit of curl in it to really frame her face, you know, add some messiness to it, but like a cute messiness, plus a fit body with thick limbs. I originally wanted to try a Mori K aesthetic, but that's something I'm very unfamiliar with, and it's also a very complex fashion style with many layers and textures. So I gave up and immediately veered into several different other aesthetics that I'm way more comfortable with. Please use references if you're trying to harness a more unfamiliar aesthetic. Oh my gosh, don't do what I did. I did try my best to incorporate as many layers and textures as I possibly could into my final look though. But I am the sort who doesn't really like too much detail or else my brain can't handle it. So I didn't really do as much as I could have. But that's alright with me. I just went with the flow and stayed in my comfort zone, and when I was done, I looked proudly upon my concept art and thought to myself, they don't look like the same person at all. What is wrong with me? They don't even look like different versions of the same person. Like they look like they're from different historical eras. I mean, they do have similar vibes, but you know, you have to admit, they do look like they're from different settings. Historical accuracy has been, of course, thrown out the window, so they probably be in some sort of mishmash, vaguely historical era with a lot of fantastical elements to go with it. The first design looks like a polite little lady from a fantastical Victorian setting. Think Howl's Moving Castle. She's poor, but she doesn't really care about that, and she tries her best to make herself happy, even if society will look down on her handmade clothes made of different fabrics that really don't match. Her boots lend her to have a practical edge, and I really like this hat. But what I like most about her is this even equal patchwork, because I'm just a sucker for patchwork. I also find this short curly hair in this particular shade very charming. I think that she'd be a great quirky protagonist. I really enjoy the look of a skirt that's obviously made of various reused fabrics with all sorts of different lace and patterns and ruffles layered together for an eclectic but still cohesive mix. The second design is my least favorite. I think that it works, but it just isn't distinct enough. She definitely feels like the protagonist of a rags to riches fantasy story here. I think that her outfit's color distribution and general silhouette is good. I feel like I should have added in more patterns to show out how made up her dress is. There's a lot of things that I would change, but at least you have the general vibe. She looks kind of like a princess in the making, like the sort who will become royalty at the end of her story. Now, the thing that I like about her design the most is this white underskirt. Well, it doesn't really look like it. This skirt is actually supposed to be made out of round tablecloth, so adding in more distinctly different fabrics will really make this whole design pop. I'd say that my third design is actually my best and most interesting. With the same build as the other two girls, she looks quite younger thanks to the pigtails and the overall high-waisted poofy silhouette. Her design is very whimsical and clearly sets the tone for not only the character but also the setting. I think that she'd make a great protagonist of a children's book series. She looks like she lives in a cottage or mansion next to the woods, and she's being threatened with being sent to boarding school by unkind aunts and uncles. After getting into a tussle with her cousin, she ends up getting sent to a magical world and saves said world by learning the importance of family, friendship, courage, and love. I like her design a lot. After some contemplating, I decided to go with my least favorite design to try and improve her. When designing the final Labradoodle from the second design, I was thinking 3D animated fantasy movie for children, like Tangled. Why 3D animated specifically? Because that means I can add as much detail as I want. Unlike 2D animation, you don't have to worry about having to draw each detail over and over and over again. Not that that's really stopped some people. But let's think about Moana and Mirabel's design. Why do they work so well? Well, the overall silhouette and color distribution is very simple, so they're easy to look at while moving. So that means that they're very readable. But when you look closer, you can see all of the details and effort that the character designers have put into their designs, like the patterns and details of both of their skirts. These details can really do a lot for a character. For Moana, it helps show off her culture. And for Mirabel, you can see that her embroidery is actually quite meaningful. Even without showing her actually embroidering it, it shows that she's very artistically inclined, something that's further highlighted in the movie itself. Sorry, I couldn't help but ramble a bit about Mirabel there. I love her so much. She's so cute. Anyways, my idea for Labradoodle Girl is again, rags to riches fantasy story. Hence, she's gotta have that peasant look. But she also has to appeal to the children. So we're aiming for hand-me-down clothes with a princess-like silhouette. Of course, we already got that part done, but I just need to improve more. I did 2 headshots as I did with the Doberman. I've seen this whole red bow on back of head thing lots of times, and that does make sense. When you see a character design trope repeated a lot, it's because it works. The red bow draws attention to the face. But I decided to draw the bow lower because it still draws attention to the Labradoodle's head, but it also gives a more shy, subdued appearance. I decided to deviate from the classical, very plucky protagonist route, and I wanted to go for a more shy and anxious protagonist instead. To emphasize how oversized her hand-me-down dress is, I made the sleeves more obviously loose, and also made the train of the skirt reach the ground, while her underskirt clearly doesn't match. Her corset is the only thing keeping this fit on her. Don't come for me, historical fashion nerds! Blame Hollywood for setting this historically inaccurate precedent. I also like the color of the lace in the corset, which reminds me of lichens on tree trunks. I was thinking that her mom or her older siblings, whoever passed down the dress, is actually massive and she's like the runt of the litter, and that's why she's so small compared to her dress. This outfit shows that she can't afford anything meant for her specifically, while still giving her something aesthetically pleasing to wear. Plus, I think that this outfit, while a bit impractical, would be really interesting to see in action. Like, imagine how it moved as she did her legally obligatory musical number. Now, here's my favorite part, the white skirt. I pushed out the difference in each of the tablecloths even more, with tassels and roses and ruffles, to really make it a mishmash of complementary fabrics. I feel like if I made this into a movie, I'd add in a part specifically where Labradoodle rips off the train of her skirt to shorten it, just so that the audience can see the epic layered underskirt even more. Yeah. Overall, I'm pleased with this design. While it might be a bit cliche to design a peasant princess character, I admit I'm very biased towards those in general. Blame Barbie movies. I feel like she'd be the shy, obedient sort who slowly learns to have courage and stand up for the greater good, or maybe just herself. I struggle to figure out the premise of my hypothetical movie, but I decided to think about what recent films have been released over the years. What do people like from 3D movies? Girls turning into animals? Oh! And of course, we need the generational trauma. Okay, so here's my idea. What about a movie about a family of werewolf hunters? As in, werewolves that are also hunters. Our Labradoodle is the outcast daughter who learns about the value of standing up for herself while teaching her family about the value of being gentle. Her family is outcasted for their ability to transform into dogs at night. I was thinking instead of werewolves, they're more like were-dogs. So her dad would be a poodle and her mom would be a Labrador. Their ability lets them hunt more effectively than other humans, but they end up moving around a lot because they don't want to get in trouble for being furries. This has left our poor protagonist shy and unable to make friends. In her own family, she struggles to prove herself due to her lack of inclination for hunting and her weak physical form. Of course, one night she accidentally reveals her abnormally fluffy werewolf form to some townsfolk, and shenanigans ensue. Cute typical children's 3D movie arc! And it ends with her and her family being accepted into society, etc, etc. I think that'd be pretty fun. Overall, I'm pretty satisfied with Labradoodle. Good job, myself. Good job. That was a pretty good first video, even though it did take like 2 centuries to make. Next time I design, I'll be sure to use way more references. I feel like I also prefer giving each character a lot more purpose and setting, so I'll be sure to do that next time. I wonder what I'll do for my next video. Let me know if you have any ideas for me in the comments. Who knows where my heart will take me. What if had voice? Bye!